Hey everyone, it's Laura from the blog ouroilyhouse.com, and today I'm just going to be sharing a video where I take you through us preparing and prepping for our first party here in our new house. Every year, my husband and I have hosted a fall party since we got married. So this is probably our 8th or 9th party. I can't remember if we started the first year or the year after, but like 8 or 9 years in a row, we have always had a fall party. Now, at the house we lived at before, it was always a hayride. We lived in a neighborhood that was, it's not really a neighborhood. It is a neighborhood, but it's all like rock roads and very spread out houses. I don't want you to think that we're like taking a hayride through this like busy neighborhood, but it's just a little rock road off of another back road with some houses spread out. And so we would put some hay in a trailer, hook it up to my husband's truck, and take the kids on a little hayride through the neighborhood. But in this neighborhood, where I live now, that would totally not be possible. We live on top of this really big hill, which is why we have that beautiful view in our backyard. And there is no place to do a hayride. And so this year we still were calling it the hayride, but it was definitely just a fall party. And we had that party over the weekend, and the few days before the party we're doing some preparing. And I just took the camera around to kind of show you the different things that we did to get ready for the party. The biggest thing is making all the food. Me and my husband both have large families, and so when we get together, that means that we have to make a lot of food. So I made 2 roasters full of homemade chili. It was a lot of meat to brown and vegetables to cut up. I just put the meat straight into my roaster, and then I diced up a bunch of onions, and I diced up a bunch of green peppers, and I added that into the roaster as well. I just put it on about 350 and put the lid on it, and I stirred it just throughout the day. You will notice in these videos that sometimes the hands switch from my hands to my husband's hands. Me and the kids left for a play date that day, and so I told my husband just kind of throughout the day, mix it together, stir it up, kind of break it apart until all the meat is browned. It took almost all day for this to get the meat cooked, but it did the job, and it was actually pretty easy. We didn't have to tend to it too much. And then once it was cooled, we drained some of the grease out, and then we just stuck the roaster into the refrigerator. The next morning, I separated the meat into 2 roasters. So I just divided about half of the meat into one roaster, and then the other half into the other roaster. The next morning, the day of the party, I opened up a bunch of cans of beans and tomatoes. So my rule of thumb is 1 can of beans and 1 can of tomatoes per pound of beef. So my grandma always did when she made homemade chili, so I just kind of do the same thing. My tomato cans are bigger than my bean cans, so I do 2 cans of beans to 1 can of tomato. So I opened up all of the cans and just kind of distributed them in between the roasters. And after I got all the beans and tomatoes into the roaster, I added in a bunch of chili powder seasoning, some cumin and some salt, and just stirred all this up. It's kind of a taste testing game when you have this much chili. There's no recipe really that calls for the amount of seasonings that you use. So I'm constantly just putting some into a bowl and retasting it, adding in more seasoning. I'm making my husband taste it, and we just keep kind of seasoning it until we get it to be the perfect combination that we like. I did use cans this year. Sometimes I do fresh beans that I like to make, but this year we also had soccer games on the morning of the party. We had another event going on the day before, so I said I'm using canned beans and canned tomatoes. So at Aldi, at least the Aldi that's local to me, they have organic canned beans and organic canned tomatoes that just have beans and water and salt in it, because I know a lot of chili beans that you find can have a lot of other junk in there. If you ever read the labels, there can be sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and wheat flour, and just all kinds of different things. So I got some beans that were just beans, water, organic beans, water, and salt. And so I decided to use that this year to make my chili making a little easier. after the chili was made, it was time to get set up for the party. Inside, I didn't do very much besides getting the house all clean and kind of put together. Many of our family members have not been to the new house yet, so this was the first time people were seeing it. So of course I wanted it to look perfect, or just, I wanted to look really nice for people to view it the first time. So I did a lot of cleaning on the inside and kind of setting up. But the majority of the party is outside because we have a big fire and we eat outside and the kids just run around and play. It's that beautiful time of year where the weather is just perfect. And thankfully we got a really nice day. It was 63 degrees, full sun. So it was just a perfect party. And we spent most of the time outside. So after the inside of the house was all clean and the chili was all made, we went outside to get set up. A couple days before the party, me and my daughter planted some mums. We had some spots where we wanted mums anyway, and I thought, hey, we should get this done before the party just so it looks nice and pretty. So we planted a few mums in the front of the house, and then we got some extra pumpkins because the kids always carve pumpkins at this party. And so before the kids got there and it was time to carve, we just kind of put pumpkins around the house just to decorate it and make it look really nice. I did some sweeping on the back patio, got some chairs set up. We have some nice seating in the back patio where there's these brick walls and there's some cushions that fit perfectly there that the previous owners left for us. So I put those cushions out. We put some cushion on some outside chairs and just kind of set them up around the back patio and around the house so people had plenty of places to sit. Now the next big thing we had to do was getting the bonfire ready to go. So this kind of started a few days again before the party, where my husband and the kids were out and we were just helping Daddy split wood and stacking it. So we had plenty of wood to burn for the party. And we also kind of put some chairs up around the fire just to encourage everyone to come down and enjoy the fire. We had marshmallows and some more stuff so the kids were able to roast marshmallows. We also had hot dogs. That was another thing that we had, and I never cooked the hot dogs before. Half of the fun is for the kids to be able to roast them themselves. So we had hot dogs and sticks down there for the kids to roast their own hot dogs. So setting up outside was basically getting the fire set up so we could have a big bonfire, getting all the chairs set up, and then I also had to set up the food table. So I put a white folding table downstairs in front of a place where there was an outlet so I could bring my chili down there and just plug the roaster in there. I had some paper plates and spoons and some cups for water. We put a few little pumpkins on the table, and then you see the food table is pretty bare here because a lot of people were bringing extra food. I was basically just in charge of making the roaster of chili, and other people were bringing other things to share. So later on, this table got full of other goodies, crackers and sour cream and cheese to top the chili with, along with lots of homemade desserts and cornbread and different things to eat that night. After we had the food table set up, we set up a little table for the pumpkin carving contest. I always tell the kids to bring a pumpkin, and I also bring out lots of paint because we have lots of little kids that can't use knives yet and can't carve. So they had a big painting and pumpkin carving contest during the party. That's always a big hit. They love that. And then when they're done, they line up all the pumpkins and then we look at them and we judge them in different categories. And the children can see who had the most creative and fun pumpkin carving and painting ideas. So during the party, we just eat and enjoy each other's company. We sit by this fire, and it's just such a fun night. And it's a tradition that I hope that we just continue doing. I love having fall parties, and I really love hosting, and I especially love hosting in this house because we have so much more space. There was plenty of room outside for parking. There was plenty of room for people to come in if they got cold or needed to just, come inside for anything. Lots of areas for kids to play and adults to mingle and hang out. So it was such a fun party, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and kind of came along just us preparing and prepping for our annual fall party. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. I get out 2 new videos every single week. All right guys, see you all in the next video.